Hi, I am ThatPaulGuy, and it's Thursday. It's Thursday, April 16th, 2020, and my public service announcement, as always, folks, while we're in this conundrum, just reminding you to stay safe, stay inside. We're still social distancing. We're still trying to take care of each other and ourselves and stuff like that. If you're not going to do it for you, do it for somebody you might come in contact with. A lot of places are being asked to wear stuff like face coverings. As a reminder, the places that do have this in effect, if you're asked to wear a face covering, I mean, it might be inconvenient, but you are protecting yourself. Mainly, you're protecting other people from something you might not know you're carrying. So just kind of go with it, okay? We just got to probably, 3 or 4 more weeks of this, and we can be out of the woods and get our fingers crossed, and let's just all kind of keep rolling in the same direction, all right? So I hope everybody's doing well, but we're going to go ahead and get things started with a peek back at last week, just in case you missed it. And also, just a couple days ago, I put an April update up. That's going to be right up here. I'm going to try to do this every month now. So there's some things, projects I've been working on or things I've been doing that I kind of left, open-ended or whatever. So I'll try at least once a month to kind of wrap that stuff up. Usually around maybe the middle of the month, we can try to do that, and we'll get things going that way. But in lieu of all that, we'll go ahead and start you off with space news. China is now experiencing some problems of their own in their space agency. They've now had 2 failures in less than a month. The other night, actually some of this stuff, some of the most exciting stuff happens when I'm either editing or putting a video out on Thursday, because this and my next story both happened last Thursday. And China had lost a Long March 3B rocket that appeared to be breaking up, and there's footage of it breaking up over Guam and coming back down into the atmosphere. Now this is, like I said, the second failure in less than a month for China. It is a little bit of a setback. They don't know why this happened. They're trying to research this and find out, but until we find out that, we won't know what precautions they won't know what precautions they might have to take. The biggest downside of this is this was carrying a communication satellite for Indonesia. So they have lost that now. I take it it's probably insured, but still you've lost out on that capability, and they have to kind of go back to the drawing board to see what was going on. And news a little bit closer to home, SpaceX has now completed the very last cargo-only Dragon capsule recovery. It went up for 20 missions. CRS-20 was the 20th mission, and it was the single configuration, or the cargo configuration, or Dragon 1 as they call it. Now this was only meant to handle cargo and fly for 20 missions, so it completed that. The next step will be the Dragon 2, which will be configurable for cargo or for passengers. And the first actual launch of that, or the first actual mission for that, will be when astronauts go up in May to go ahead and do the Demo 2 mission. In tech news, and a rare cooperation event between Apple and Google, both of them now have an app that you can download that will help with the current conundrum, I guess you could say. It figures out proximity-wise if you've been in contact with somebody that might be a carrier or somebody that's been exposed. And there's a couple moving parts of this. First of all, the app itself is in conjunction with both of them, which is unheard of, but you would have to download it. Presumably this might also take some kind of update. They say it's compatible on all their series, Apple all the way back for several different updates, and Google is saying it's good for several of their updates. There is some kind of conversation about that, whether it's actually going to be compatible with everybody's phone or not. But the main thing is this is an opt-in, that you have to do this voluntarily, which also means that if you have been exposed or you have contracted, then you also have to volunteer that information to let other people know that they have been in contact with you. So if this does work, this would be a way for scientists, yourself, and many other people to be able to do research on point of contact. So when they go back and actually do contact tracing in the future, that they would be able to tell where those outbreaks or where that exposure or whatever came from. So it's a pretty phenomenal type thing. First of all, to have both these companies working together on a project like that. And it's a pretty huge endeavor to try to get this for everybody to opt in, to try to use the geolocation on their phones to be able to predict or figure out or see if you've come in close proximity to somebody else. It's not a thing for the social distancing police to come and get you. It's merely a tool for research and to let you know if there has been an exposure event, or let researchers know how things move and how things spread. And I usually don't try to pull from the same source when I'm looking at stories, but I try to spread things out. I try to pull something from here, something from there, and kind of do my research and figure things out. But this one caught my eye while I was actually researching the other story. Also from CNET, I was able to see that on yesterday, Wednesday, there seems to have been some major banking problems when everybody got online to check for their stimulus checks. And these included banks like Chase, Capital One, PNC Bank, a bunch of others, Navy Federal Credit Union, and even apps like the Cash App. And it turns out that the release date for all these funds was marked as the 15th of the month. So April 15th, everybody gets on there and starts checking their accounts, and everybody finds out that they can't because there's such a high volume of people trying to check their account balances and presumably pay bills. Now, I think part of the problem might have been that large banks decided that when they got these funds on Friday and processed them and had this time to process, they could have processed as early as Friday, but they chose to wait and hang on to this and let everybody try to log in at the exact same time on Wednesday, just so they could hold on to those billions of dollars and make interest off of that. But that's just my conspiracy theory. I don't have many of them, but I do think the banks are trying to make money on it and kind of take advantage of the situation. If not for that, if not for the banks holding on to this entire thing and releasing this as that funds became available or as funds were confirmed or whatever, they might not have had this issue. But you announced to everybody that things will be in there on a certain date. Everybody logs in, nobody can log in. So I'm just saying they might have created their own problem. Hopefully all this is fixed now. As of late last night, I didn't have any problems trying to log into my bank. I don't know if other people are experiencing that same thing. Are you one of the people that couldn't log in? Are you the one of the people that couldn't figure out? Kind of let me know in the comments. I'm kind of interested to hear about this. Yesterday, all afternoon, that's all you heard was that there was banking issues and people couldn't log in. So kind of curious to see if anybody else had that experience. I did not, but I'm trying to kind of curious if somebody else did. In gaming news, Bethesda is trying to salvage what is left of Fallout 76, it appears. They've put out a new expansion called Fallout 76 Wastelanders, in which case there are now several hundred NPCs that have been added to the game. There are 2 factions or 2 villages that have been added that people are starting to come back to the West Virginia area or this Appalachian area that the game is set in. So they're trying to appeal to people again and trying to get people back into this, because one of the biggest complaints was that there were no NPCs and it was boring and it was a waste. And yes, I am one of those people that have a right to be angry, because I prepaid for this game and waited for it, and I was better off just lighting a match to it. Speaking of lighting a match to it, though, apparently some people have experimented with nuking one village or the other, one area or one settlement or the other, and the residents of that area they go about their business. They don their radiation suits and everything is fine. And it's kind of a strange thing, but I don't know whose silly joke this was, but maybe they should have just done that to the game before they released it in the first place, and we wouldn't have this issue. But yeah, I'm still a little, okay, we'll just move on to the next story. How's that? And the next story being, have you ever downloaded a game? This is another thing that ought to make me a little bit angry. Have you ever downloaded a game, paid full price or near full price or something like that, and then realized that the game expects you to make in-app purchases or in-game purchases to be able to get stuff to actually play the game? Now that's one thing if you're playing a game like Warframe that has things that where you can buy extra money or extra platinum or whatever the case may be, or buy weapons or upgrades. That's a free game and it has micro purchases, but you can also earn that stuff. If you're patient, you can earn a lot of that stuff along the way. But I'm talking about you pay for a game or pay full price for a game, and then you have to buy something that will actually help you play that game in addition. Almost like buying a whole nother download content right after you buy the game itself. What sense does that make? Why didn't you release the full game? Why didn't you release it together? Anyway, enough of my rant. The same people, the ESRB board, that entertainment board that decides what the ratings are going to be, whether it's teen, mature, kids, everyone, whatever the deal is, they are also now labeling the games so that you can know if it has in-app or in-game purchases. Now, this will be a great thing to know if you're trying to avoid something like, I don't know, surprise dynamics or having to buy a loot box. Same thing, right? Anyway, now they're going to be labeled. So you'll be able to tell if you're getting ripped off twice as much or or if you're just getting ripped off. Fallout 76. Anyway, if you know that, if you don't know, or say you're buying a game for somebody else and you're not aware of what the circumstances, or if they're going to have to lay out more money than you were trying to do for them, well, now you've got that little thing on the label and everybody kind of gets an idea and it helps everybody. So that should alleviate things, especially for people buying other stuff or the unsuspecting that have no idea that they're going to be expected to pay a lot more than they did the $60 retail price on the package in the first place. And while I'm at it, kudos to Hello Games, because No Man's Sky, when it first came out, that seemed to be an unmitigated disaster, similar to Fallout 76, only maybe even a little worse. But they have continued to put out update after update after update, completely free of charge, to try to take care of the consumer and the gamer, to make sure that what they are putting out far exceeds what they promised in the first place. So Hello Games is one of those companies that does it right, and yes, they got their initial money, but they haven't tried to make a profit off of the updates. Now, in truth be told, Bethesda has offered this as a free update. They haven't tried to charge anybody for it either, but kind of along the same vein, if you really put out I don't know, lipstick on a pig, whipped cream on an onion, whatever. Shave it. We'll just, I don't know. I rant and I rave. Anyway, but kudos to Hello Games for doing that, because that just came out and that looks really, really good. And finally, you're kidding, right? It seems that Flamingo decided to take the opportunity maybe she thought nobody was looking, to get out of her enclosure in a zoo in Britain. The British zoo that was holding the flamingo found out that the flamingo actually flew out of the enclosure, and you're thinking, wait a minute, flamingos don't fly. No, they don't. This one had a very well-timed gust of wind help her get out of the enclosure. She was quickly and safely rounded up. She has been returned to her enclosure, and she can now go about her daily business and her self-distancing. Quick question though, do you know why flamingos are the color they are? Well, quite simply, it's because of the diet they eat. They eat a lot of algae, small crustaceans, and shrimp. And if you go to a zoo and you see a lot of pink flamingos, rest assured they're being fed very, very well. And they have that pinkish color because of all the shrimp they eat. Oh, and I almost forgot. We're going to do the joke of the day, okay? What's blue and smells like red paint? Give up? Blue paint. Anyway, I never said it was a good joke, like I said. Anyway, that's going to do it for me, folks. As always, you're welcome to share, subscribe, thumbs up, thumbs down if you have to. Leave me any kind of comment, especially if you've been caught having to buy a game and just got ripped out of it or whatever, and had to buy in-app stuff or in-game purchases and you got fed up. Otherwise, I hope everybody's staying safe and well. And that's all I got. So until this weekend when I'm trying to do some build stuff, I hope, that's all I got. So I'll see you later.